We need to do better for our children. We need to do better for ourselves. And we need to do better for our nation. If you keep neglecting these three things, this vicious cycle is going to continue, and you're going to put maybe, if not all, at least half of the population or the United States population at the mercy of someone else. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to A Black Girl's Odyssey. I'm your hostess, Breeze, and today I'm going to be giving and sharing my thoughts and opinions on this SNAP EBT food stamp dilemma that's plaguing our nation right now. But before we get into it, I need you to hit that like and subscribe button. I also need you to chime the notification bell so you will be aware of any videos I upload about my adventures in traveling. So first of all, I want you all to know that this topic is on fire right now on social media. I've seen so many videos and blogs and articles about the back and forth of the food assistant program for our nation. And I'm just telling you, a lot of people have their opinions on it. And I figured this would be a good time to give my opinion on it. And although this topic is on fire, I'm going to try to hose it down a little bit by imposing some logical questions that maybe perhaps you all can answer for me respectfully, that is, in the comment section. Also, I'm going to be doing some critical thinking behind this, and so maybe I can help encourage some critical thinking on the communities and also too, I do want to encourage people in general as a whole, because I understand that it's a tough time right now, and especially with the holidays so close by and how so many people do rely on food assistance. And so this is what I'm going to talk about today in my video, and hopefully give some input and insight and make people think on a more critical and more severe level. So we're going to go ahead and jump into it without further much hesitation. And my thought starting with my fifth thought about this topic here, and that begins with a question, and that question is, why do impoverished people continue to put themselves at a disadvantage? When I say this, I'm not saying this to shame anyone, but it's a serious question that I would like to have answered. I was born and raised in pretty much in a income area. And all my life, I've seen a lot of people got themselves into debt that they cannot afford. I've seen them have multiple children that they cannot afford. And mostly from the woman's side, I've seen a lot of women attach themselves to useless men who just cannot and are not willing to help them. And these questions have baffled me all of my life. So maybe perhaps you can all give me some thoughts behind this of why this is. So I'm going to break this down in the three parts that I was just saying just now, and I'm going to tackle debt first. So I've seen a lot of people, they get themselves in debt by purchasing a vehicle they cannot afford. Their income is not even substantial enough to be able to take care of their home expenses, let alone anything outside of that, like a car, student loans, anything of that sort. And I don't understand why they keep going to these payday loan companies or getting personal loans or borrowing money that they clearly cannot afford to pay back. And so I wonder why they keep doing this and what's the solution behind this. Do they hope and pray that it's going to get better? Or are they actually working to an active solution to get out of debt? I'm trying to figure out why it is that they keep doing this. Also, I've known many people who have had multiple children, sometimes multiple children with multiple partners, and I can't understand that. If you're already in poverty and you're struggling to take care of yourself, Why would you want to bring an innocent soul into something that's so messy like that? I don't understand that. I think it's selfish and I think it's disrespectful to bring an innocent soul into a situation where you can't even handle yourself. So I'm often wondering why that is. I even had someone said once upon a time that that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to have children. And even if that's true, are we supposed to keep bringing children into poverty? I don't understand that. So maybe you all can share some light on that. And from my observation as I was growing up, I've always seen many women that will attach themselves to a man that's pretty useless. He can't pay the bills or he can't pay the expenses or he only gives the woman a fraction of what is needed to pay the expenses. And I don't understand why, mostly it's from the woman's perspective, from the woman's side. I don't understand why she will hold on to a man as such. It baffles me. I don't understand. I mean, if I'm paying the bills and I'm carrying a household, if you can't help me at a substantial amount, then I don't need you in my life. You're just being a burden at that point. And so these are questions that I always wondered about. I wonder if there's even an answer to them. Maybe it varies from person to person, but maybe you all can help me with that in the comment section and do it respectfully, please, because this video is not to shame anyone. It's actually trying to encourage critical thinking, and that's what I'm trying to do. So the low income poverty communities get healed from all the trauma and all of the problems that have been in the community for so many years previously. So that's my fifth thought on this food assistance situation. And again, that's why do impoverished people continue to put themselves at a disadvantage? So my thought point four is many SNAP recipients are irresponsible with their benefits. I remember one summer when I was still living in Charleston, South Carolina, I got a part-time job working at I guess what you would consider, it's not a convenience store. I guess it's more like a little retail store. That's what it is. So it's a retail store. I got a part-time job working there one summer, the summer actually before I left to move where I currently live now. And I would be at the checkout. I was the cashier, the clerk, and I was at checkout checking out some people. This was just one summer that I observed this, by the way. And I remember I would see women come into the store, sometimes with multiple shopping carts with a ton of processed food, and I would ring them up. And I remember when I rang them up, they would have like, once I tendered their transaction, they would have like $400, $500, $1,000 worth of food assistance benefits on their card. And I would look at them and I would look at their shopping carts and I can understand why they would have all this processed food if you're getting hundreds of dollars in food stamp benefits or food assistance benefits a month. Okay, I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, okay? We got two very popular stores. There's more than that, but there's two popular stores that's there that I really like. One of them is Harris Teeter. The other one is Publix. If you're from the South or you have lived in the South, you probably are very familiar with both of those, if not both, at least one, and that's Publix. And I'm telling you, if I was getting just even $200 plus a month of food stamps, I would not shop anywhere less than Publix. Publix have high quality meats, high quality produce, and I just would not shop any place less than that. I didn't understand why people will say, oh, let me go ahead down the Dollar General or let me go ahead down the Family Dollar or any type of retail store that's a little bit cheaper, and they will just load up on processed foods. Now, I know what people are going to say. They're going to say something like, well, maybe that's the closest place to their home. That could very well be true. But when people have other places they want to go, they always manage to seem to find a ride to go to these places that they always just happen to need to go or want to go. So you mean to tell me for your health and your benefit, you would not go to a better quality store when you're getting food at next to nothing prices to get higher quality, or you're going to just continue to go to a retail store with highly sodium, high caloric, high sugar intake food when you can go to a real grocery store, a real supermarket, and get high quality food? To me, that's insane, but okay, that's their choice. And I can see why the current president is doing what he's doing to some extent, because that's being irresponsible with your benefits. The country as a whole tried to push healthy eating, and just to stock up on just a bunch of sugary cereal, a bunch of nonsense food with no type of nutritional value. I can see why what's going on is going on right now. I feel like if more people would show responsibility with their benefits, a lot of people would not have to worry about their benefits being compromised. And that's just one part of the problem, but it's also a big problem. I mean, we're trying to tackle obesity in this country, and I'm not going to talk because I am a plus size woman myself, but I'm going to talk on the fact that I do eat healthy and I do remain active most of my day. I don't load up on sugary sweet cereals and all that kind of stuff like that. I don't do that. I actually cook in my house. I cook in my apartment. I cook healthy food. I eat a lot of fruit and vegetables. I'm not saying that people shouldn't have snacks, but you do know that fruits are snacks as well. Bananas, apples, plums. I mean, all that jazz. You have fruits that's in season. You can also buy frozen fruit and use that for like smoothies and such. And so as the time went by, I started noticing more and more that people were very irresponsible with their benefits. And that was a problem that I couldn't justify, I couldn't speak of, because technically it wasn't any of my business, but it didn't go unnoticed. I noticed that. And so I just don't understand. But I have seen it. I've seen other unjust things as well too that people do. And you have to be responsible. What people don't realize is that the food assistance program that the government allows people to have is actually a privilege. You're not really entitled to that. You're not working enough to be able to afford food, or at least not enough to be able to put what you need in your home because you're depending on someone else to help you out. So you should look at the food assistance program as a privilege and not a sense of entitlement that you entitled to it. And it burns me. So that's what I think about. My thought on 4 is many SNAP recipients are irresponsible with their benefits. I've seen them be irresponsible with their benefits, and it's a problem that needs to be solved and needs to be solved right away if people intend on being able to have this type of program available to them. So that's my thought on point 4. My third thought is this: government's governmental assistance as a stepping stone. It is not meant to replace permanent income. I know enough people in my life that have been on government assistance all of their life for whatever reason. I don't even know. I don't need to know. I really don't want to know. And they were pretty much able-bodied people, at least at one point in their lives, or they could have worked and they chose not to, or whatever the case may be, or maybe perhaps they did work and they hurt themselves and they can no longer work. But do understand that government assistance is not a permanent situation. It's a stepping stone. And I'll use me for example. In my life, I've applied for food assistance twice. The first time I applied for it, I was going to school. I was in college. So I was working and going to college at the same time, and I was allowed food assistant benefits. The second time I was on food assistant benefits is during COVID. I actually felt like I was getting a stipend through unemployment, but they also allowed me to get food assistance. So I took it. I didn't complain or moan and groan. However, I was on that for a brief moment in time because I returned back to work at the height of the big C. And so during that time, I was working. At first, I wasn't working because of what was going on, because we didn't know what trajectory the country was going in at that time. But after I got a handle on what was going on, I returned back to work soon. I relocated from one state to another. And I went back to work. And I thank God I went back to work, because when I went back to work, I actually got in a situation where they were actually paying me time and a half every time I went on an assignment. So I was able to sock away a pretty decent piece of change by being able to go back to work, because many people weren't working, and I was able to make a decent living for myself. So I didn't need to be on government assistance, so much so that I'm not on food assistance till this day. I'm able to go and buy what I need, whenever I need it, at whatever cost. And so and so I understood that this was supposed to be a stepping stone until we figure out what was going on with our country. But as soon as I was able to get off of it, I got off of it. And it really wasn't that long, because like I said, I went back to work very shortly after all my benefits came through. And while I was grateful for that, I didn't want to be on that, because you just never know what can happen. And so I was grateful for what I got at the time. I used it for what I needed to use, and I moved on. I didn't set up shop there. I would never want to set up shop there. So a lot of people don't feel the way I do. They will try to milk it for as long as they possibly could. And if that works for them, fine. But do understand that that can change at any time. Just please understand that those ways and such can change at any time. And so because of that, you need to start thinking of a way to have permanent income that you can fall back on, just in case it so happens that you will not be allowed to be able to use the government assistance no more. And that's just the final thought on that, because there's so much more that I can go into depth with that, but I choose not to. You need to think about what's going to happen to you when you retire, if you get older. If you don't have the money to be able to take care of you in your old age, are you planning on running this government train for the rest of your life? These are questions you really need to ask yourself. It's a stepping stone. It's a stepping stone to get to where you need to be. It's not a substitute for permanent income. And that's just my thought on that, on point 3 about the food assistant program. Now, when I was on the food assistant program, which brings me to point number 2, there was no guilt or shame on my behalf. No guilt or shame. And I'm going to tell you why. Like I mentioned just now, I am a single woman with no children. I don't have a husband. When I work, what do you think, or how do you think that they tax me? I don't have any dependents, so they tax me tremendously. So when I had to fall back on government assistance, I understood that I was just getting my money back, some of my taxes back, because they tell you that your taxes goes towards the education system in our country. They tell you it goes towards our roads and stuff. But I drive on these streets all the time, and I'm telling you, a lot of these streets need some attention. They need some TLC, because they have potholes, cracks, and everything that you can possibly think of. Also, they're saying that they're putting my tax dollars towards the education system. Well, how come so many children are struggling with reading? That's another conversation for another day, but I'm just putting that on out there. What are they doing with my tax dollars? That's what they're telling me, but they never send me a statement every month saying XYZ, this is where your money goes. I don't see that statement. And even if they do send that to me, how I know for sure they're sending my money to where they're telling me it's going to. I'm just at the mercy of someone when they're telling me that. So while I was on government assistance, I felt no shame or guilt because I understood that I was just getting some of my money back. They were still taxing me when I go to work. They tax me greatly when I'm working. I mean, I pay a whole ton of taxes. I don't try to cheat taxes because that's not how I get down. If I owe Uncle Sam his money, I'm going to pay Uncle Sam his money. And that's a good segue to me talking about an upcoming video about these student loans. We're going to be talking about that later on. And so, like I said, though, but while the whole entire time I was going through this situation, I didn't have any shame or guilt. And I'm not going to let nobody make me feel guilty um, or put me ashamed. And I find it also funny because when I was growing up, people will always say that, oh, particularly as a black person, oh, you want government assistance, you want the government to take care of you. But y'all wasn't saying that when y'all were getting them COVID checks, though. Y'all were getting COVID checks, and no one said, oh, you're on government assistance. I didn't hear anyone shame anyone doing the big C, and people were getting these COVID checks and these stimulus checks or what have you. No one was shaming no one at that time. They weren't shaming anybody. Everybody was getting handouts, and everybody was receiving them. So how could you shame one person on one side, but the other side is okay? And I understood that our world was at a crisis at the time, but at the same time, it's still government assistance. So how can you shame one thing and approve another? But anyway, that's how I felt about that. So that's my point too. I felt absolutely no shame or guilt for being on SNAP benefits when I needed to be on them. And that's because I pay a heck of a lot of taxes. And so here's my final point. This one right here hits home. Not just for me, but I think about the world as a whole on the last one. And my first and final thought is, why does one allow themselves to be at the mercy of people? As you heard me mention in my last few videos, especially the last one, the latest one before this video here, how I spoke about how I don't want a husband. You never want to put yourself at the mercy of anybody, whether that's a spouse, children, immediate or distant family. And you definitely don't want to put yourself at the mercy of the government. I have a concern that someone can pull the rug from under me anytime they decide they want to. That's not where I want to be. I want to be able to always stand on my own 2 feet. If I cannot do that, there's no need for me to exist on this planet anymore. You don't want to be at the mercy of anybody because people are very unpredictable. I've said this, I think, in multiple videos, and I'm going to say it again in this video. Again, you do not want to be at the mercy of someone because people are unpredictable. 1 minute it's all good, and then the next minute they're done. Now you rely on them, and now you're in a corner somewhere rocking back and forth because you don't know how you're going to manage because you relied on someone else. You don't ever want to be that person. And I don't know why so many people, for the love of God, continue to put themselves at a situation where they're at the mercy of someone. If people probably manage their stimulus checks better, they probably wouldn't be in a situation right now where they're concerned about their food assistance benefits. they would have been wise enough to know that I got to take this money and try to make go on this money, make this money grow. So if something should happen, I'll be able to fall back on. And remind you now, the stimulus checks was also government assistance. So if a person was real smart enough, they couldn't make that money grow. No, instead, I remember seeing videos, and I also remember hearing people talk about going on trips. I heard people buying big screens, flat screen TVs, new big flat screen TVs, all kind of foolishness. Instead of they focus on trying to have a little nest egg. So while my heart does bleed for some people, most people it doesn't, because I don't understand how you put yourself at the mercy of someone. I would like someone to also explain that question in the comment section for me. I try to do as much as I possibly can for myself for as long as I possibly can, because I don't want to be at the mercy of someone. Sometimes people want to see you fall flat on your face. Sometimes people want to see you at a disadvantage because they get their kicks off of that. I don't like anyone playing with my well-being. I don't like anyone playing with my livelihood. I don't take that lightly at all. I'm actually trying to put myself in a situation, God forbid, if something should happen, I will be taken care of for, if not the rest of my life, at least for a long extended period of time, where I don't have to rush to go back to a job. So I'm trying to tell people now that you should never put yourself at the mercy of anyone. You just don't want to be there. I've seen it happen to so many people, and they probably regret the day that they never put themselves at the mercy of someone. I don't care who it is. So that's my 5 thoughts on this SNAP EBT food stamp dilemma that's going on right now. Again, 5 is, why do impoverished people continue to put themselves at a disadvantage? 4, many SNAP recipients are irresponsible with their benefits. 3, government assistance is used to be as a stepping stone, not a permanent source of income. 2, if you are a working person and you are paying your taxes religiously, you should feel no shame of guilt on falling back on food assistance. You should not, because you are contributing to society, and you don't need to feel guilty or ashamed for that. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And number 1, why do we allow ourselves to constantly be at the mercy of someone else? I don't know why. That I just can't overcome the thought of putting myself at someone's mercy. And I don't know why people also put themselves at other people's mercy. So in conclusion of this video, the people that I really, really feel sorry for are the disabled and the children. And I'll tell you why I don't necessarily feel really sorry for the elderly in 1 second. The disabled, we don't choose to be disabled. No one wants to be disabled. Sometimes things happen in life that we can't avoid, we can't prevent, even if we've done everything right. So being disabled is something that we can't control, and I understand that. Those people get a green light, they get a pass. Children did not ask to be born. Maybe a lot of them, if they could choose, they would not be born. Someone chose for them to be born without asking them, not providing or not being able to provide for them. So children get a pass. The elderly, I question. If you were in your able body and right mind at one point in time, and you were working, why did you not save for your old age? Now, we know there are a lot of elderly people who are disabled. If they're disabled, this don't count towards them. If you say something like, oh, well, I was busy taking care of my children, then why did you have them if you couldn't afford to have them? So this goes back into a circle. It comes full circle, as a matter of fact. It comes full circle. Because if you were able to work, why did you not save for your old age? If you couldn't afford to have children, why did you have them? And if you was in an accident, that automatically classifies you under disabled. So I don't necessarily feel sorry for the elderly too much. I do feel sorry for the disabled and the children. And let me speak on the elderly one more time right quick. I feel like anybody who has worked and put into the system, especially when they have worked for 20 plus years, should automatically receive $200 a month as part of food assistance as part of their benefit package. Just like how they get Social Security, they should automatically be allowed $200 automatically for food assistance. Now, they have a choice, or they should have a choice to opt out. If they have a substantial amount of retirement savings, they may not need that. They may say, oh no, just save that for someone else who really needs it more than I do. But I personally feel all elderly people 65 and over should automatically get $200 a month for food assistance. Let them make the choice if they need it or not. But to be elderly and have worked and had your youth and you can't afford to have money, you put your whole life, your whole self at the mercy of someone else. I'm also going to do a video in the future about Social Security too. But right now I'm going to park that where it is. But I don't understand this whole dilemma situation. We as a nation, we as individuals need to do better. We need to do better for our children. We need to do better for ourselves. And we need to do better for our nation. If you keep neglecting these three things, this vicious cycle is going to continue. And you're going to put maybe, if not all, at least half of the population or the United States population at the mercy of someone else. And trust and believe, you do not want to be there. I'm telling you that now. So I'm going to wrap up this video. Again, I need you to hit the like and subscribe button. I also need you to chime that notification bell so you can be aware of any videos I upload in the future. And please share this video with someone that may be able to understand what I'm saying when I give my thoughts on this crisis that we're going through right now. But personally, to be honest, and I feel this in my heart, no shade, no lies, I really believe it's going to turn out to be better. It's going to turn out better. In the end, it's not going to be probably as bad as we think. I think it's going to turn out for the best. But this is a lesson learned that you don't ever want to rely on anybody except for God if you are a religious person, and definitely yourself. I'm just putting it out like that. So thank you for listening to me. Make sure, again, that you share this video. And please leave a respectable comment in the comment section. I would love to hear your thoughts about what I'm saying. But until the next time, I need you to go ahead and, just tell me sincerely what you think about what I just said. Tell me if any of this resonates with you at all. But anyway, thank you for listening. Take care and God bless.